What is happening, guys, and welcome back to the channel. For today's discussion video, we have a mixture of some super exciting reveals and then some not so exciting ones to discuss and break down, so let's get cracking. First up, we have our first official look at two brand new Transformers 40th anniversary retro reissues, and these characters are going to be a G1 Blaster and Soundwave. And I'm just going to be honest with you guys, I don't think they could have picked two characters which are any more lackluster than these releases, because correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think it was that long ago that we saw a reissue for both this Soundwave and Blaster. To me, it makes no sense to bring these characters back out when they have very recently resurfaced, and I could think of so many incredibly elusive original G1 toys that collectors would love to see reissued in favour of these two. I mean, for example, to coincide with the whopping 40th anniversary of Transformers, how amazing would it be if they found a way to resurrect the original G1 Dinobot molds? I think it would be crazy. Now, I know there's a discussion that the original molds were perhaps damaged or destroyed, but in today's day and age, there really is no reason at all why they can't reproduce some of those original molds. We've got some exceptional 3D technology. I'm pretty certain there would be a way to kind of resurrect those figures and bring them back on store shelves, and I know for a fact collectors would go bonkers, as I personally have been scouting the internet for years for some of those original 1980s Dinobots, but they just go for ridiculous prices on the aftermarket. So to see they are continuing this line, it does give me hope that perhaps eventually we could reach the point where at the very least we see an original G1 Grimlock. But these look decent. I mean, in their defense, their colors have been slightly changed to better match how they originally appeared in the G1 series, and Soundwave does include both Laserbeak and Ravage, but I've not really been a huge fan of these new retro reissue figures. I thought it was kind of cool, you know, a few years back, but to see them basically just reissue very recently re-released figures, yeah, it really doesn't appeal to me too much, and these are going to retail for a whopping $45 each, and considering how many bangers at the moment are releasing for Transformers Legacy United, I definitely think I'm going to save my cash for some of those figures. But if you're into your retro reissues and you want them to look slightly more toon accurate, then more power to you. I'm pretty certain you guys will enjoy these figures. As we get stuck into some brand new Takara Tomy reveals, they went crazy. I mean, we quite literally should call today a Takara Tomy Thursday, because they gave us some of the best reveals that we've seen in the past couple of weeks. And the first of which is a masterpiece figure, a way long overdue release of a Beast Wars MP59 Rhinox. And honestly, they could not have picked a better Maximal to resurrect their Beast Wars subline with, as Rhinox is a character that I have wanted to see Takara Tomy approach for so long, and I think we may just be looking at their best Beast Wars Maximal to date. This figure looks incredible. I'm going to be honest, the second I laid eyes on this photo, I really did mistake it for an actual CG render. It looks insane. I think the metallic green is on point. I like how massive the bottom jaw of the Rhino is, slap bang and center on the torso. He'll also include his wicked machine guns, which can attach onto either side. He really does just look super cool. I'm not too sure whether or not they are still using painted parts when in comparison to molded in plastic. I do know paint chipping was a massive issue that plagued pretty much all of those original Beast Wars masterpiece figures, so I am hoping that it's kind of a healthy balance and not everything is painted, because whilst painted pieces look awesome, unfortunately they can begin to look a little grubby over time, especially with the complex transformations that you expect and get from masterpiece figures. But the next image we have is him maximized into his Rhino mode, and again, this looks exactly how it appeared in the original Beast Wars series, even down to the eye. It looks so animation accurate. I'm not too sure whether or not I'm going to be keeping this guy in Beast or Robot mode. With some of the past Maximals, it's been an easy choice for myself. I 9 times out of 10 stick them in their Robot modes, but this one I'm really not too sure, especially how awesome Rhinox was in his Beast mode back in Beast Wars. But just check this out. We get some additional images here of him utilizing some of these accessories, and he just looks so banging. Now, conveniently, Takara have not shot any side profiles nor back shots, so I am wondering how exactly the kibble management is going to look. You know, unfortunately, as of late, some of Takara's masterpiece figures haven't looked the most desirable from the back, such as their Optimus Prime and their Bumblebee, but who knows, maybe this Rhinox stacks up pretty nicely. Here we have an image of all of the accessories that he includes, and he comes with a pretty decent amount. Here we have that classic recreation of Optimus Primal riding on the back of Rhinox, and the scale, again, appears to be dead on to how it looked in the series. So this is a 10 out of 10. I'm definitely going to be copping this the second it goes up for pre-order, because I think it looks wicked. Definitely one of the best masterpiece figures they've shown off in the past couple of years. Now we slightly move on from Masterpiece, yet still sticking with Takara Tomy exclusives, so they are continuing their Beast Wars Premium Finish subline, and I kind of thought they were done for now, as they've pretty much revealed all of the main Season 1 Maximals and Predacons, but they've kind of given us a sneaky entry here, because we have a Ghost Starscream, and I believe just a generic Waspinator. Now this is inspired by the episode where Ghost Starscream basically takes control, I guess you could say possesses Waspinator, and it is about time that we have seen a brand new Ghost Starscream figure. I unfortunately don't own any of those in my collection, so it will definitely be a pretty decent variant to add. It is based on the Earthrise mold, and I know some collectors don't really like it. Personally, over the past couple of years, I've definitely thought they could give us a better Starscream, especially when they whacked this mold out again for a Studio Series release. But in terms of a Ghost Starscream, it doesn't look bad. It's basically completely made out of transparent plastic with the exception of the forearms. Maybe that's to do with the engineering. Perhaps those pieces would just be a little too brittle, but this does include the articulated fingers that we saw included with the leader class Starscream for Studio Series, so that looks pretty wicked. Here we have an image of him in the jet mode, which again is a clear Ghost Starscream. There really isn't much that we can discuss here. However, the Waspinator appears to basically be more or less the same as the Waspinator that's coming out in that Premium Finish 2-pack with Cheetor, so it's kind of a shame that we are seeing two Waspinator releases pretty much back to back. Maybe they could have given us a slight better variation, maybe even a clear version of Waspinator, but it looks decent. If you're a fan of Ghost Starscream, then this really is the only way at the moment that you can get this version of the mold into your collection as that variant. Now we're going to check out even more Takara Tomy exclusives, and this was definitely the reveal which got me the most pumped. So to kind of go along with the Warzone 2-pack, which Hasbro recently brought out, we now have a Decepticon 3-pack, and it consists of some much needed reissues. So this here is being titled the Transformers Dramatic Capture Series Nemesis Bridge. So I guess in some ways this is kind of like Takara Tomy's own spin on Studio Series. It's where they recreate some of the most iconic scenes and sequences from the original G1 show. So what figures do we see included with this set? So first up, as an accessory, we have the same throne that we saw included with that Coronation Starscream for Studio Series. To be fair, it is a fantastic accessory, so it's kind of cool to see this reissued, and if you didn't pick up Starscream, then this is a great alternative. Now over the past couple of days, I have been trying to decipher that kind of leaked image which has been circulating to see just exactly what variant of Megatron they're going to use, and it's basically the Transformers War for Cybertron Earthrise release, which, when you come to think about it, really hasn't seen that many reissues. I know it had the original run back in 2020, then there was the G2 repaint, which personally I thought was the better look out of the two versions. Now we have this complete metallic silver version, and it does actually look pretty sweet. To be fair, I am glad that they are reissuing this mold when in comparison to the Netflix/Siege version, because we have seen that figure released so many times, and the Earthrise mold actually isn't terrible. To be fair, if you're after the slightly more G1 accurate out of the two, this is the one to go for, as it does overall better match what we saw in the original 80s series. But a fantastic metallic silver deco. This is the paint apps that we should have seen first time round with that Earthrise version. I think the robot mode looks for the most part pretty awesome. I am excited to pick it up mainly for this Megatron, to tell the truth, and I know there are rumours that we are expecting to see a leader Megatron in the next wave for Studio Series, but I believe at this point that is pretty much confirmed as being kind of a conceptualized design for a Bumblebee moving Megatron. So this may just be our best stand-in for quite some time, unfortunately. And to be fair, the tank mode also doesn't look too bad. The next figure in this set, however, got me super pumped. So this is a reissue of the Transformers Siege Leader Class Shockwave without all of the unnecessary armor. You know, the only reason why Hasbro included that armor in the first place was to justify the Leader Class price point. Had they packed him without all of that, hands down he would have just been a standalone Voyager, and that is what Takara is giving us in this 3-pack. So wicked to see this guy reissued, because Leader Shockwave now goes for ridiculous prices on the aftermarket, and surprisingly hasn't seen a reissue across any of the Transformer sublines over the past couple of years, which is kind of surprising. This looks way more toon accurate. He now has the classic white thighs, which I think look better. The shade of purple really does match what we saw from the most recent MP Plus Masterpiece, so that's really sweet. He transforms into kind of an alien spaceship, but the way they've painted the front part of the spaceship, if you were to flip this upside down, it's pretty much his original G1 hand cannon mode. So I thought that was was a pretty good touch by Takara, and because we are seeing this Shockwave, again, I think it's unlikely that anytime soon we are going to be getting another G1 Shockwave, and to be fair, with the exception of the slight inaccuracies of the alt mode, this is near enough a 10 out of 10 G1 Shockwave, so I'm definitely very much looking forward to picking this guy up. And what is the third and final figure in this 3-pack, you guys may be asking? Well, it is a Netflix Soundwave. I mean, come on, it's been what, like nearly 4 years? As soon as we hit 2024, it would have been 4 years since this figure kind of hit retail back in 2020. Wicked to see it reissued, although I have heard rumours that we are going to be seeing a new leader class Soundwave in one of the later waves for Transformers Legacy United. So whether or not that is a repack of this figure with some additional accessories or a brand new mould, only time will tell. But if you have been after seeking out a Netflix Soundwave and don't want to pay those ridiculous scalper prices, this may just be the most affordable way to get this figure into your collection. And much like Megatron and Soundwave, it has the most premium deco that we've so far seen for this mould. So metallic silver thighs, metallic silver forearms, which I am so glad to see, because unfortunately my original Netflix Soundwave, as some of you guys may have noticed when I whack out for a few comparisons, has yellowed terribly, because at the time there were quite a few QC issues going on with Hasbro. So it is nice to see this repaint, and it does look sick. And one thing which I'm a huge fan of is this will include a laser beak. Again, more G1 inspired, basically exactly the same as the version that we saw included with the Netflix release. So it has the brand new head sculpt, which is pretty sick. So this most definitely is a 3-pack which I am after. Takara Tomy have been killing it this year with some of their exclusives, and I'm really looking forward to seeing as to what they're going to bring out going into 2024, especially as we get closer to that 40th anniversary. So cannot wait for this. Also really looking forward to seeing as to what the next set is going to be in this dramatic capture series. And now we get into a reveal which was completely unexpected. Very recently we saw Hasbro PulseCon and they dropped the first wave of Transformers Legacy United figures. Well, Takara Tomy have just gone ahead and dropped one of the first reveals for Legacy United Wave 2, and it is the long-awaited Voyager class Silverbolt. Finally, a second Fusor to go alongside Tigerhawk, and I've been so looking forward to getting this figure into the collection. It's been years since our last Beast Wars Silverbolt, and a running theme that we are seeing nowadays with these Transformers, this really does seem to be the best version of this character which they've so far brought out. So let's break it down. First up, we have the robot mode, which includes kind of those spear-like weapons that he was seen using in Beast Wars. I just think in terms of screen accuracy, this thing looks incredible, and it makes me super excited for if Takara ever bring this into their Masterpiece line, because the mainline figure looks so solid. Imagine what they could do with a slightly higher budget. It could be crazy, but robot mode looks fantastic. I think the paint and the shade of grey they've used is dead on. I also really like that when in comparison to his original figure, the wings don't just flare out. They're not spring-loaded. You can actually compress them and collapse them, again, to better match the CG model from Beast Wars. So that's pretty sick. Here we have him in a dynamic action pose. Appears to have all of the great points of articulation that you would again expect from a modern mainline release. And then we get stuck into the Fuser, the Beast mode, and this looks so wicked. I think I'm going to be keeping this guy in his Beast mode. We get the wings, which are articulated much like we saw from the Kingdom Air Razor, so that's pretty sick, and the realistic texture detail is spot on to some of the Beast Wars characters that we were seeing from Transformers Kingdom. So this is going to go alongside perfectly with that Kingdom Black Arachnia. I really cannot wait to check this one out. You know, so far Legacy United 2 has been killing it with their reveals, and for this being one of the first drops for Wave 2, I cannot wait to see as to what other characters they have in store for us. And that pretty much wraps it up for Hasbro / Takara Tomy reveals. Now we're going to get stuck into some Yolopark drops. So, first up, we have the long-awaited coloured prototype for their upcoming AMK series 22cm Scourge model kit. Now, I've been anticipating this figure like nobody's business. After I wrapped filming the first wave of their figures, I've been so excited for Wave 2, as it looks to be killer. So, Scourge looks near enough perfect to what we saw in the movie. I think the attention to detail, especially in terms of the face sculpt, is the most accurate that we have so far seen for a Scourge action figure. It looks killer, and one thing which I love about these non-transforming model kits is it really does give you a whole other appreciation of the design, because I never even realised that much like the leader class Scourge, the wheels of Scourge in the movie end up tucked behind his front grille. That is a great attention to detail and makes that Studio Series figure even more impressive in terms of how the upper torso is engineered. I love how the quad smokestacks look on the back, the attention to detail of all of the factions of those he's killed stamped throughout his forearms, on his shoulders. It looks really sick. The proportions on this one too 2 are on point. And one thing I'm noticing more and more with their most recent reveals is all of these AMK figures, unlike the first wave, now appear to have fully articulated fingers, which I think is wicked. Don't get me wrong, swap out gestures are too also fantastic, but with articulated fingers, it really allows you to pose the figures in pretty much any way that you want. So that's pretty sick. He has that opening electromagnetic claw, much like we saw in the movie. This is going to be an absolute cop. Cannot wait to pick this guy up. And then when we check out what accessories he's going to include, whilst they're not shown in some of these images, they sound super promising. So because we are no longer seeing the return of interchangeable hands, he comes with quite a few swap out pieces. So first up, we get an interchangeable face. I imagine this is so you can remove the mask to reveal kind of the internal battle damage that Scourge has sustained. So that's going to be really cool. He'll also include one hand blade, which we see him use for the majority of his screen time, and it'll also come with one left hand cannon. So much like in the movie and the Studio Series figure, you'll be able to completely swap out that electromagnetic claw for his blaster, which is going to be sick. So cannot wait to get my hands on this figure. But Scourge wasn't the only Wave 2 prototype they showed off, as now we finally have a painted prototype for Cheetor, and this, much like Scourge, looks super promising. The details are on point. The colour, in my opinion, is way more vibrant when in comparison to what we saw from Hasbro's official Studio Series, and it seems so accurate. You know, Cheetor in the movie, for the very brief amount of screen time he got in his robot mode, came across as being incredibly agile, and the articulation points on this figure appear to follow suit with the movie. He seems to be super poseable. Love all of the mechanical detail that we have surrounding some of the internal panels. That looks sick. And much like Scourge, he not only has articulated fingers, but he too will come with a shed ton of accessories. So in addition to his own spear, which we saw in the movie, he'll also come with kind of an upgrade kit for their previously released AMK Optimus Prime. So to kind of cast your memory back, Optimus Prime only included interchangeable hands. He never came with any weapons, which kind of sucked. They are correcting their mistake here with Wave 2, as Cheetor, in addition to that spear, is going to come with Optimus Prime's axe, which is super cool. It's going to include a left and right hand cannon, so 2 arm cannons for Prime, which is badass, and then both a left and right hand blade. So pretty much decked out with all of the weapons that we saw Prime use in the movie. And I heard rumours that their upcoming Rhinox will include some accessories for Bumblebee, so I'm hoping to see a swappable battle mode head. That would be pretty cool, as well as his 2 Stinger blasters that we see him use once he ejects out of the back of Stratosphere. So there was a lot to cover today, some super exciting things in the pipeline. Personally, I'm the most excited for that Decepticon 3-pack by Takara. The masterpiece Beast Wars Rhinox looks insane. The next wave of Legacy United sounds super promising, and I cannot wait for the second wave of these Rise of the Beast Yolopark figures to drop. I'd love to get your thoughts down in the comment section below. Out of everything discussed today, what are you guys most excited for? And until my next video, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.